So, in my opinion, basically, schools would be a lot cheaper if you could do a virtual. It feels like the digital side of things would be the way to go, especially moving into the decades to come, because it feels like it would be cheaper and a lot less effort to actually construct buildings and construct structures dedicated to learning, whereas you could have a digital structure or infrastructure that is global and it can be attended almost from anywhere in the world, pretty much, with internet access, obviously. So yeah, let me begin with the virtual side. So how would that work? How would a virtual school work? Well, it starts with the user or the customer. They put on their headset or whatever, and they are attending school now. And there might be a classroom or a place for them to attend that maybe tracks your hours and tracks your attendance, and maybe have tests as well, which there will be obviously cheaters and people looking for shortcuts around that, but we'll get to that issue later. But what about subjects? And you do pretty much the normal subjects, the usual English slash main language, secondary language, mathematics, history, biology. You do those, the normal school things. So yes, those kinds of subjects. You maybe even add in computer literacy or digital literacy to learn technology, how to use phones and computers and those sorts of studies as well as social studies or life skills. Those subjects, we put it all and we compartmentalize all of it. Education. And now you have a virtual one that's running one, perhaps even with teachers, whether the teachers are AI or whether the teachers are actual people giving lessons hired by In Your Head Productions, and curriculums. I mean, obviously, when you get to university, those subjects that I'm mentioning branch out into various areas of study and many different departments. Too many to list here, but that's what I'm talking. But how would it work? How would you monitor the kids and how would you monitor all of that? And it's happening in the device that they are wearing. It's monitoring whether you are actually in attendance, and like maybe even quick flashes of questions that pop up that you have to answer within a few seconds, because it, the time it takes, you either know the answer to the question or you don't. You don't have the time to go and Google it and then read the Google answer, then come back and then answer the question. Like already the question's disappeared. You got that wrong, and things like that. That's all happening in the virtual space. So there are ways to monitor and security procedures that can be put in place to make sure that people are learning. And obviously, after an amount of time, when you've attended so many lessons for a particular grade, there comes the opportunity to, you've spent enough hours, you've done enough lessons that you have the opportunity to now write the final exam for that grade. And that's the best thing about it being virtual, is that you can arrange these tests within months of each other. So children who are excelling and who are doing well can proceed through school a lot quicker than people who don't listen or don't take it seriously or whatever. Just like the way a normal school works. And obviously you have people monitoring the tests and monitoring how they've written it. There's certain time limits to ensure that Googling thing that I was telling you, either you know the answer or you don't. The time limit has been specifically set. But how does that make education more fun or more appealing to younger people? How would In Your Head Productions, the application I'm talking about, do that? And it comes down to achievements and trophies like they get in games or in applications and other applications. That it goes down into achievements. Remember, I said that the company is running in the background tracking your profile. So once you've done a certain amount of classes or whatever, you get awarded experience as you go on. And as you graduate from the elementary school, you get a decent chunk of experience, and it adds to your overall like portfolio, if I could say it like that. It adds to your, this is what I was saying, and companies can bring up that portfolio and say, look, he's got this education, he's got that education, he's passed all the tests, or they've done all of that, or she, or they, or however you identify. It's like, wow, that sounds amazing. I mean, why even suggest physical schools in the first place if In Your Head Productions wants to move forward with this and create that virtual school that I'm talking about? Well, it comes down to fundamental skills that we have as human beings that we might lose if we do our education strictly digital. What kind of skills are those? Like how to read and write. Well, not necessarily how to read, but more writing. Like when you write, those sorts of skills will not be really taught if you're doing everything digitally and it's just tracking hand movements and hand selections and those sorts of things. And there's also the social aspect of attending classes with other people and that sort of learning environment. So that's why I'm debating about it. So yeah, that is also why I suggested physical structures as well. It's also in case there is no way to digitally make a final examination for all these grades or to pass the grade or whatever. In case we don't have a way to monitor it without that security or to ensure people aren't cheating and those sorts of things. So maybe the final exam is written in a structure at a location that the child can go to, or the teenager or whoever can go to, where they do write their final exam in front of moderators and admins and invigilators, that nobody's cheating and nobody's, everybody's writing their own test and not copying from each other. So like normal school, but just with a little bit more tweaks. So that was another reason why I suggested physical schools and a digital school. It's also to give people or the customer options. Because some parents don't care if their kids go to a public school or private school or not. They homeschool their children. And some homeschooled kids turn out to be really successful people. I mean, it's not up to us to judge the way you approach education. But that option being there, that there are public schools from In Your Head Production to attend, that you go to normal, conventional classes, or there's the option to do homeschooling, and that shows up on your profile as well, whether you were homeschooled and or publicly schooled. And it's not that much of a difference, it's not better or worse, it just states. And another thing about it being brilliant as a digital format is that people can attend school at any time in their lives. They don't necessarily have to be children to do these exams and to take these lessons and whatever. It's not creepy that some 18-year-old is hanging around with 13-year-olds because he had a rough childhood and he didn't go to school or whatever. But now he's changing and he can attend school from a safe place and a comfortable place and do all the tests and pass all the tests and still get that experience and still be considered a valid candidate because they have the knowledge, they've passed the tests. So it also adds a little bit more convenience in a digital format as well, in that sense. I just thought of that now actually while talking about this.